Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of TFN News, the show that does a weekly roundup of all of the Transformers news coming out of Hasbro and their subsidiaries. And this week we can... Look, there's no news. There is nothing of consequence. There's a few toy pictures, there's a few little things about comic books, I could get into a whole rant about the fact that, for whatever reason, Comixology has delayed Transformers issue 5, yet you can go to the stores and buy it. I could do that rant, but instead I thought I would do something a little bit different. Since there's no news to talk about, let's talk about one of my favourite Transformers. Let's talk about Bombshell. Now, the video that you're about to see was a video that I put together for TFN towards the end of last year. And it was going to be released at Halloween. And then another YouTuber, Kris decided to release a basics video pretty much at exactly the same time. So I held off on it and I kept it for just this sort of occasion. So, hope you all enjoy. Please do like this video. Please do share it around. Also as well, if you haven't, please do subscribe. We are going to be doing more of these. As you can see, there's a few choices that I have to pick from. More of this content will be coming down the line as and when it's appropriate. But we are on the road to 500 subscribers and your subscription would really, really help. Also as well, if you want to know any more about TFN, tickets are on sale. You can go down into the information box below. Everything is there for you, all of our socials, our website, and you could join us in August to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Transformers. Now, my first encounter with Bombshell was through the original animated series, where I remember being immediately struck by his design, especially that faceplate. You see, unlike Optimus Prime or Soundwave, for whom you just assumed that was their face, with Bombshell it always felt like a mask, as if his true features were right behind it. A monstrous horror being kept out of sight, only revealed to the truly unfortunate ones. Now, while this was never the case, it always stuck with me, adding a further unease to the character. I can't be the only one who got Hannibal Lecter vibes, no? Just me, then. Now, Bombshell would make his debut alongside his fellow Insecticons Kickback and Shrapnel in the penultimate episode of Season 1, entitled Plague of Insecticons. And boy howdy, Bombshell was sure there, and he sure was an Insecticon. It really did feel like his main role in the episode was just to help get over how cool Shrapnel was. At least for this episode. He was a team player, I guess. But what was really great about this episode was the Insecticons' backstory, where we would discover that they crash-landed on Earth thanks to the use of an escape pod, and lay dormant for 4 million years. Due to an issue with their programming circuits, the Insecticons took on the personality traits of their alt modes.
And the giant bugs aren't bugs at all. They're Decepticons, like us. And their idento-computers adapted them for life on Earth by turning them into Insecticons.
It's neat to consider that this would happen a few more times in Transformers, especially in the Beast Wars show with characters like Inferno. While I'm sure that the origin of the Insecticons wasn't considered during the development of Beast Wars, it's nevertheless one of those cool coincidences, and a fun notion that a Cybertronian's characteristics can be influenced by their alt mode.
His beast mode is dominating his logic circuits.
He thinks he's a real insect?
Precisely, and he sees the pod as his colony.
Their warped personalities would also mean that while they may have worn Decepticon badges, the three Insecticons were just as much a threat to Megatron and his forces as they were to Optimus Prime, and almost every story that focused on the trio would play up this angle.
Soundwave has gathered the data he came for, which means the Insecticons are no longer of any use to us. Destroy them!
I I think your dear Decepticons would rather follow my commands!
We would have to wait until Season 2, however, when Bombshell would step out from Shrapnel's shadow and cement himself as the true threat of the team. Episodes such as Traitor and the Insecticon Syndrome would introduce us to Bombshell's sadistic nature and his ability to warp the minds of his victims, such as Mirage when he would use the affluent Autobot to lure his comrades into a trap. Introduced in his tech spec, we would learn that Bombshell's power to control the minds of his victims was made possible through the use of Cerebro shells. From here, Bombshell controls the unwilling party as if they were extensions of himself. There's a great moment in the previously mentioned episode, The Insecticon Syndrome, where Bombshell attempts to ensnare Megatron, and watch what happens.
No one gets into my cranial chamber!
Ah! My Cerebro shell! My precious shell!
I love little moments like this. Bombshell writhing in agony at the destruction of his Cerebro shell is a lovely little character beat, and the idea that his shells are both his greatest strength and his weakness would also help play a part in the Dreamwave two-parter, where Bumper would use a similar tactic to defeat the Insecticon. Like many characters from the first two seasons, Bombshell's time in the sun would come to an end during the events of Transformers the movie, where he'd be ejected from Astrotrain before being reformatted by the Chaos Bringer, Unicron. But one thing that always puzzled me was how did he end up in such a state? After all, in the movie it's Shrapnel and Kickback who take the beating. Well, thanks to the Sunbow Marvel Archives, which I'll link to below, you can check out the storyboards for Transformers the movie, where we can see, in an unproduced scene, that Bombshell is taken out by who? None other than Mirage. This shot of him patiently waiting for the chance to strike would have been such a great moment to keep in the movie and finally give Mirage the chance to get his revenge on the monster who stole his free will all those years ago. Outside of animation, Bombshell would make sporadic appearances in comics for both Marvel and Dreamwave, but his most significant role would be in IDW, where it would be revealed that Bombshell, along with the other Insecticons, were the result of a series of experiments conducted by the Decepticons on Cybertron. I know All Hail Megatron isn't everyone's cup of tea, but when we get the reveal of his origin in issue 7, we're treated to one of my all-time favourite moments with the character.
What is your name?
Bombshell.
Do you know where you are?
Cybertron.
Why were you created? What is your purpose?
Torment.
The choice to have a beat between each of Bombshell's replies, only to have him immediately respond with torment when asked what his purpose is just too wonderful and a real highlight for the character. What would come next, however, was anything but a highlight for me, and a move that to this day I'll still never forgive. At the climax of issue 8, we would get the horrifying reveal that Bombshell had kidnapped and experimented on Hunter O'Neill, bringing down the Autobot security system across the galaxy. After millions of years of war, it was Bombshell who would ultimately devise a plan that would secure Decepticon supremacy. The series would depict Bombshell as a genius, but it also showed that rather than wanting to lead, he would happily control from the shadows, a true puppeteer. So, that's Bombshell in a nutshell. I don't know, sorry. At the end of these reviews, I'd like to make some recommendations to what you can check out if you want to learn more about the character. Outside of the Season 2 episodes Traitor and the Insecticon Syndrome, I'd highly recommend John Barber's excellent Robots in Disguise series. Start from issue 1, move forward, and you'll basically get all of Bombshell's story. In addition to that, IDW, I mentioned previously about All Hail Megatron. It's a good series, Bombshell doesn't play a massive part in it, but he is the catalyst for an awful lot of what happens. But if you're in the market for something a little bit different, there's a little two-parter from Dreamwave Productions, issue 7 and 8 of the Transformers ongoing series 2. It's a nice little slice of Transformers horror featuring a taco tank and the Decepticons. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so very much for watching. I know a little bit different, not quite what you were expecting, but with the lack of news, what can you do? Please do hit that like button and share this video around. Also as well, if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you're new here, we are on our road to 500 subscribers. Thank you all so very much, and hopefully we'll be back next week with some actual news. Bye for now.